And welcome to this week's RFHL podcast. Week one is in the books. Finally, we are here getting ready for week number 2, and I've got two old pals on the show with me today, per se. And I've definitely had a group chat with these gentlemen and proving exactly why I knew I picked the right guys. I've got the wonderful Bob Hartman and Brian D'Angelo. Bob, how are we doing tonight?
I'm great. Happy to join you. Not as happy to join Brian, but I'm happy to join you for the pod.
Brian, how are you?
The feeling's mutual. So no, it's always good. Anytime I can razz Bob for an hour, I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad to have you guys. I know this past week we were both excited for week one and came out on the L side a little bit here. But Brian, how are you feeling physically and mentally after week one?
I mean, physically, I feel great. I mean, I did summer league, but I took a few weeks off after it. I didn't play in any of the pickup games, but I mean, we were down a sub for. I mean, we were down Paul for most of the first period, and so we had a little bit of setback there, but I felt good. Felt no cramps, no nothing. So I'm ready to go week 2. Let's go for it.
Yeah, you had a beautiful shot in that game. It definitely looked like Brian had not slowed down. So you definitely looked like you were in the zone for that game.
I appreciate it. Yeah, new stick. Give it a whirl, and it did well. So hopefully a little better for week 2.
Awesome. Now, Bob, you haven't played in a couple seasons. How do you feel?
In Indiana Jones, where, spoiler, but the guy drinks from the wrong cup and he just kind of like withers away into nothing. I don't know why I threw that up, totally unrelated to your question, but no, I feel every day of my 40 years and every pound of my X number of pounds. And but I'm excited to get back into it and excited to try to play a little younger and play a little lighter.
The beginning opening to that reference just was not at all what I was expecting to get as just a yes, no, maybe so. It was just this whole long, extravagant explanation of how you're feeling. So I think if I was guessing right, physically, you're a little bit struggling, but you're going to get there.
Yeah, physically, emotionally, spiritually, just not great. Not great after Wednesday night, but I'll get there.
Oh yeah. Sweet. All right, well, let's just do a quick sweep. Let's talk about week one real quick. We're going to go through these games really quickly, and we're going to talk about how well they went. Week 1, 6:30, the season opener, Tribe Called Quest, took the victory with an 11-5 win over the Sarnia Sting. And then the second game, Manitoba Moose with Kaz taking up the number one shocking pick of Brad, came out victorious with a 10-7 victory over the Phoenix Coyotes. Good Morning Vietnam just came out swinging with a wonderful 10-3 domination over Iron Thrones. And then Master Vaders with the rookie class showing up big time in the rookie game with an 11-5 victory over Limp Bizkits. Any thoughts from your games or the games that you saw? That anything stood out to you guys?
The thing that was most interesting to me is that all 4 winners had 10 or 11 goals. And when we're watching the pod last week and about kind of low scoring predictions and really strong goalies this season. I mean, the last several seasons just strong goalies overall. But I was surprised to see double-digit goals in every single game. And I'm wondering, maybe it's an anomaly, but I'm wondering, is that going to be the formula to win this season? Is you have to score double-digit goals, or is that just a week 1 fluke?
I don't think that that's a week 1 fluke. I think that's just kind of like the method to the madness at the RFHL. I think I realized that after my second season. Any game that I would lose or any team that I was on, and we were always complaining about how we weren't winning, it was always every time we would lose, it's because we couldn't get 10 goals. Every game we lost is because we couldn't get anywhere near 10 goals. And I mean, like you just said, and I noticed that too with the stats, was every team that won, they scored at least 10 goals. I feel like that's always been the kind of like the golden rule with the RFHL. If you can hit that 10 mark, you got a good chance of winning.
In general, I agree, but like last season with the championship team, that was like contrary to their whole formula. The purple team, I don't remember.
Les Tremblements.
That's right. Merci. But yeah, no, so you're right. I think overall, in general, you're right. But maybe we just got spoiled last year with just the defensive and goalie powerhouse that Les Tremblements displayed. What about you, Brian?
I mean, I would be curious to know statistically how it goes for week ones if you see an up in scoring. But I would think that goalies take a little bit more to settle in and kind of, gather themselves to when it comes to the season. I think it's probably easier to, get a shot by them in week one than it is once they've had a little bit of rhythm to establish. And man, I'm going to get flack from the goalie union on this, but that's just my gut. There's no statistical analysis on that whatsoever. I think, to me, the biggest shock of week one was Brandon. Brandon just played lights out, and GMV is built on that sweet, run, that firestorm, Charlie Jumpers mentality that we've had for the past few seasons with him. And if you can have a goalie that's backing you in that scenario, you're locked and loaded. And Brandon delivered that for 2 solid periods. Had a great third period too, but man, 2 shutouts. It's 2 shutouts, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was going to say is I feel like there's a lot of people that may be sitting here and going, well, look who's in front of Brandon. He's got a stellar team. They came out on fire. I think the first period was 5-0 or 6-0. Like they played stellar in the first period. But then you got to think in the second period, they were kind of stonewalled. They didn't do anything offensively in the second period. And again, Brandon carried a shutout period in the second as well. And he made a joke. He made a joke going in the third that he's halfway to his career high in shutouts. But I mean, like you said, he played a stellar game, and he does have a wonderful, well-rounded, fast team in front of him. But the fact that he was also pulling his weight in that second period when the offense kind of slowed down really shows that team's going to be really dangerous if he can continue to play the way he played in week one every week. It's definitely a championship caliber team.
I mean, 93.2% save percentage in week one. That's just lights out. So
yeah, stellar game by Brandon.
I told him when he got done with the game, you deserve 2 game stars in this one. And so.
So let's just some quick crazy highlights to kind of go into our first game of the week is we had 5 rookies that played. So we had Brendan Austin, Steve Leduc, Steve Foes, and Chris Galante with all their first RFHL games. Welcome to the league. The biggest thing for me is, I mean, there definitely had a few people that had their first ever RFHL goal, like Frankie, who's playing the floor for the first time, got his first RFHL goal. And then all the rookies on the Master Vaders got a goal. Leduc, Foes, and Galante. Might be saying that name wrong, but Chris came out with a huge 7-point game for a rookie, 6 of those points being goals. Just absolutely stellar standout game for a rookie. So welcome to the RFHL. And I think Chris was the 3rd round pick, if I remember correctly. 4th round. Well, yeah. So yeah, he was the 3rd player pick, but with 2.0 having to lose in his 3rd round. But yeah, so a 4th rounder getting 6 goals in his first RFHL game. I mean, love Matt. He still played great. But 6 goals by a rookie, that's pretty huge.
Yeah, they weren't scrappy goals either, Rob. Like they were snipes.
Mm-hmm.
Watching the tape again today, because I'm a masochist and I love watching myself lose. And they, the goal that stood out to me the most was we came down on defense. The 2 of us played around the net, and then there were 2 guys playing up high. One rotated down, drew the 3rd defender, and he was wide open, a little bit closer to between the 3-point line and half court, and he just put it glove side on Matt like nothing, like laser shot, glove side, and Matt's a great goalie, and he just put it exactly where he had to put it. So a lot of talent there.
Yeah, I got to see Chris in the summer league for just 1 week where he subbed for us, and he was great. He was phenomenal. I think 2.0 had a little bit of inside info on that since Chris wasn't in the rookie game, and he got a little bit of a glimpse during the summer of what he could do and the good floor presence or court presence, if you will, for the summer league. So I agree. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I'm kind of leaning towards Galiente, like because he was on fire this week. So.
I see what you're doing there, Caliente. So is that going to be the nickname? Are we coining a nickname right here on the pod? Little Caliente.
Everyone vote on it. That's all I can say. Anybody who watch, if you watch the pod, comment below. Is this the nickname for the rookie? You know, put it in the Discord. Let's get that's his quick hazing. Gets a nickname right off the bat. Week 1. Congratulations. Welcome to the RFHL. Poor 2.0 still looking for his own little meme clip in the Discord sticker, but this rookie gets something after week 1. Congratulations. Another huge highlight, and we talk about this player every season, talking about how they've gotten better and better every year. Had an amazing first week breakout. Ellen Fridman, hat trick, 4th overall in the league right now with goals. When's the last time you saw that? Huge congratulations to Ellen, and she's also on the other top 5 players of the league with 5 blocks this past week. Ooh, just killer week by Ellen Fridman. Obviously earned her game star. I don't know if the game stars are awarded like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, but I think she definitely gets the 1st star for her game. She played an excellent game, and I remember I think I was doing the broadcast when she scored the hat trick goal, and I accidentally thought it was her 2nd goal, but that celebration she gave definitely makes me realize, oh shit, that was the hat trick goal, because she was giddy and excited. So congratulations, Ellen.
Yeah, she's like you said, she's definitely, has got a lot of skill out there, and the team she's on was setting her up really well too. Furlano, hit her at least one of those goals with just a beautiful pass. She was in the perfect spot, finished it strong. The finish I probably couldn't have made myself, but I think the team.
That's not saying much there, Bob. That's not really a compliment.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that we can't all just, shoot like we're, our lives depend on it, like Brian, doesn't look to pass, just takes the shot anytime he's got it. But, whatever, that's fine. Doesn't play defense, but, but no, and a little, just in case you didn't know, Brian used to play defense, maybe like LeBron, used to play defense. But, he in college, he was my defensive captain, and, didn't do me any favors because I was a terrible goalie back then too. But anyway, the team, A Tribe Called Quest, I think is really built like that. That was one of my takeaways from week 1 is that team. Maybe I'm going to throw shade here. Nobody on that team really scares me, but all together, like they seem like they had the most chemistry other than maybe the rookies, oddly. But they seem like they had the most chemistry coming out of week 1 to me. Was like they just seemed to feel like they were playing week 4, week 5, not week 1.
And they did most of it without Dr. K there.
Yeah, and Westgate Matt. So it might be one of those things where, maybe next week is their week 1 where they've got 2 new players on the floor. But maybe being down a player and not using a sub actually helped them. I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's a lot of hockey floor presence that they were missing that week, and they still just dominated. So I think they're going to get better once you add those 2 in the mix. And to get Ellen in the 7th round, it's just absolutely ridiculous and insane. I mean, at one of these years, someone's going to wise up and pick her ahead of that because she's just a clutch, end of your draft pick there.
No, I agree. Again, we talk about it every draft class, I feel like every end of season, we look at the stats and where everyone's lying, and she's just, it's just a graph of upwards on her. If you look at her graph chart, it's probably just always going up. So I'm excited to see what she's going to bring to this season and what more growth is. Is she going to break 10 goals this season? It's going to be exciting to see where that goes. But I do have to say, I'm really happy you guys are bringing what I wanted to the show today. Your energy, and you guys are doing exactly what I'm paying you for. So thanks for really bringing the entertainment. Speaking of Ellen with the 5 blocks, this isn't a shock to anybody, but right now leading the league with blocks is Haran and Paul Fridman, 9 blocks each. And then one more stat that I really wanted to throw in here real quick before we drop into career stats, which thank you to Market Suite. We'll get into that a little bit more. The shocking 1st round slip that everyone talked about Guess who's leading the league in points? Mr. Brad Haynes with 8 points, 4 goals, 4 assists. He's kind of proving that leadership mentality with his breakout right now, and 8 points to lead the league. I mean, everyone was that was the talk of the draft. He dropped all the way to the sixth round pick, or 6th overall pick. So him coming out and not just getting 8 goals, he did it in just the way that Brad does it, and 4 goals, 4 assists, just absolute stunning start for him.
Yeah, I mean, I faced them this week. They were clicking on all cylinders there. Brad was moving the puck really well. We tried, you try to keep on Brad's forehand as best as possible, and then he beats you with the backhand. And then Huron, I'm pretty sure 8 of those blocks were against me, so I'll take credit for 4 of those. Geronimo just does what Geronimo does. It's just, I'm not surprised at all, but that combination of that defense versus the stick handling of Brad and the offensive threat that always is just, it's a killer. And then you throw Kaz in that too, and it's just, that's a solid, formidable team. And we really weren't talking about them, at least in the, after the draft, after the preseason. I mean, we were talking about the Brad fall, but not the team as a whole.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, me and Bob called that game, and we both made comments about Kaz and net and how effortless he was making his glove side look. Everyone keeps trying to burn him glove, and it's not happening. I would like to honestly keep track of how many glove side goals he lets in this year, because that glove is just like Bob's the one that actually said it. Just looks effortless.
Yeah, no, and when it comes to the Manitoba Moose, they're another team that I'm just curious about what they look like as a full team. They had, I think it was Kenton subbing for them, if I remember correctly, and missing Shane Humphrey and Dave Foss that game. Now we have so many Fosses in the league, but it's. I want to see what that full team looks like, because Brad's phenomenal. The whole team looked great. They won with double digits, but I still have some question marks on what they are going to look like as a full unit as well.
I don't have the numbers on it, but I would remember talking with Sweet last year that statistically, if a team is missing their one of their last 2 or their last 2 picks, they almost always win. I think it's just the presence of the first rounders on the floor for a longer period of time, or that combination, but it's statistically in the favor for those teams. So I'm not saying that's why we lost. That's not the case at all, but it may have helped them there. And so I'd be curious to see with the full team as well.
So I guess what I'm taking away from this is that if you want to pad your block stats, play against D'Angelo, and then afterwards he'll make up stats to make himself feel better. So I think that's what I hear.
Take it till you make it.
Wonderful. You guys have any last comments about these past weeks before we jump into these awesome all-time stats going in from last week and this week?
Yeah, I don't think we've talked about it enough, but holy rookies, Batman. Like, I don't know. Like, I still feel a little shell-shocked playing against 3 of them, last week, and just really getting my butt handed to me, by the 3 of them plus Fish and Shane and Kurt. That's the masturbators. I don't think we're doing power rankings this show, but they really, really impressed me. Between them and we were talking about Good Morning Vietnam earlier, they just, both of those teams really seemed like they just controlled the puck, controlled the tempo the entire game. And I'm calling it now. I think those 2 will be in the championship game if they keep playing like they played in week 1.
Wow. Calling it already. That's crazy. I'll be honest. It almost felt like an intimidation tactic, but also I feel like 2.0 knew what he was doing when that game started, and I didn't see a single veteran on the floor. All 3 rookies came out, and I was just like, in my head, I'm like, is he trying to intimidate us to just be like, they got this? Which clearly they had it. Yeah, obviously. But even though I got the opening goal, no, I just tipped my hat. They just came out and they just looked fluent. Like, and there was just all this talk. I talked with Matt beforehand about how like Leduc's going to come into this league and he's going to be fire. And I mean, I didn't know anything about Stephen Foes or Chris, but there was all this chatter of they got to get used to the gym. They got to get used to the 3-on-3. I think it took them about maybe 48 seconds, and they was just like, "Oh, we got this. We're comfortable." And I think I heard it on our bench or heard it somewhere where it almost basically feels like 2.0 drafted 3 first-round picks. It's just like Holy shit. That was crazy.
So 2 things on that. I immediately went up to him after his game and I said, I hate your freaking team. So that's the first thing I said. And then in Firestorm chat, which is still going, we were chatting about all the different things from this past week. And I can confirm he flat out did that on purpose. He did it to send a message right out of the get-go. So I don't think I'm sharing anything he wants to share. But yeah, he wanted to make a statement with that. And I told him too, I go, it's unfair. You got 2 first rounders and a second rounder is what I told him. So I think you might be more accurate with your 3 first rounders. So I'm gonna second what Bob said. I think I'd put him in the championship. So I've seen crazier things happen, but I'd pick them right now.
And I can't honestly disagree either. And the other thing too, and I mean, not to continue to just pump up the ego of 2.0, not that he has an ego, but not to just continue to pump it up. But I've seen 2.0 play goalie in the past, and this was week 1. And you give that dude 3 more weeks, maybe even just only 2, he's going to get back into that rhythm and flow that he used to have. Mm-hmm. And if he plays the way he's played in the past, plus the team he has in front of him, man, I can't disagree with the championship call out. That team is going to be dangerous. And everyone questioned it because, dude, the dude drafted 3 rookies, and like, how is that going to work? How's the chemistry going to work? And I mean, yeah, you do have really good veterans on your team, but I mean, all that whole combination is just, it's going to flow well. And 2.0 is a great captain. I've been on teams with him when he's not a captain, and he does a really good job of running the team and communicating what he's expecting or what he's doing. So he's going to continue to do that with the rookies, and I think it's going to make an impression like it did.
Speaking of great captain, I don't think he's ever won captain of the year though, Rob. And you were going to talk about career stats, right?
I mean, he could be up for it if he runs 3 rookies into a championship and wins it. So I think that's a pretty good nomination for captain of the year to take on 3 rookies and pull out a championship. I think it'd be fantastic and well-deserved at that point. But yeah, speaking of the career stats, if anybody didn't know, before the announcement of this cool Throwback 30 season, Mark Ziegler went back and watched like podcasts back in the Bob days and just went way back, gathered a bunch of stats. I don't know. Did he work with you, Bob, as well as gathering stats, or he just do everything on his own?
I hadn't talked to him, so I'm assuming he did it on his own. Maybe he worked with PR or something, but I'm not sure.
This man gathered career stats from everything, everywhere. And now we've got this huge Excel sheet with all the stats. And if you are on the Discord, go to the links channel on the Discord. You can find the career stats, find out where you rank between everybody and see the crazy numbers like Paul Paradine's almost 1,200 goals. It's just absolutely crazy. But because of that, we've got some cool things going on with this throwback season. We can see awesome milestones for all these players. So we talked about Brad Haynes earlier. Brad's 4 goals brings him to his 300th career RFHL goal. So congratulations, Brad Haynes, getting 300 career goals. And I think when we did the call out for that game, I think that was his 82nd game. So 300 goals in 82 games. Congratulations, Brad. And then Jesse Trado getting his 400th career point. So a couple cool veterans getting some great milestones. Congratulations. And I mean, points, 400 points is pretty good because I mean, assists don't usually get caught all the time. So I know assists and blocks can always be cried at by the stat keepers, but I mean, we do our best as stat keepers, right?
Yeah, Fab. That's why I don't pass, is because it doesn't count.
I almost lost my water on that one.
That's why so many blocks come from your stick.
Hey, I've been going back and forth as we've been chatting, looking at my career stats versus your career stats. So, it's not like you got 10 more blocks than I do there.
Hey, they just started doing blocks, not too long ago. So give me a break here, all right? Out of my 20 some odd, 19 floor seasons or whatever it's been, and 6 goalie seasons, I don't know how many of them they had blocks.
To be fair, in Bob's defense, there was a conversation in a chat that I have with 2.0 and Sweet, and the stats kind of got messed up just because of Excel like settings and stuff. If you play goalie, it kind of like messed up your stats. So I don't know where Bob's stats accurately lie. Who knows? Maybe it's a little bit different, but
yeah, they're probably way higher. Like I'm sure I got double the goals you've got.
Yeah, I probably bumped your 0.7 points per game up to 0.8. So there we go.
So speaking of career milestones, we have a couple cool, interesting ones coming up this week. With in this game right now, or going into this week, Jake Shelton has a total of 99 career RFHL assists. So we are just talking about assist stats. All Jake needs is one, and he's going to hit that 100 mark milestone. So let's see if Shelton can get that. And all you stat keepers, if you work in Jake's game, you get that assist down if he gets it. Make sure you're paying attention. And another interesting one, going back to some veterans here, if it's a kind of a goalie clash here, if Brett wins and Konko loses, they would both be tied for all-time RFHL wins at 102 wins.
Wow.
Yeah, some cool little stats going on. Again, huge shout out to Mark for kind of putting that information together. Mark showed up this week with a cool little stat sheet that he handed out to the people doing the broadcast, and it was really interesting to kind of like look at, and it helped with the call, to be honest. It was interesting doing the broadcast and being able to see people on each team and where they stand with stats and what milestones they have kind of coming up. And I wish I was able to kind of keep attention a little bit better and watch Brad get that fourth goal and call it the 300th goal. But yeah, huge shout out to Mark. Thank you for getting those stats together. It's really interesting, especially for the Throwback 30 season, where we're looking back at a lot of memories, a lot of cool things that have happened in the RFHL well before me. Probably some well before any of you. I don't know, but it's just a pretty cool opportunity and awesome thing. So
yeah, thanks, Mark. That's always difficult while you're doing the broadcast to try to pull up cool facts as you go. You try to, maybe write down a few notes as you go as well, and having it all consolidated in one place. You're not opening up 3 browser windows while you're trying to do the play-by-play. So, really appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, as a stats nerd, this is phenomenal. I actually just discovered it today. I was texting Sweet about something because I was trying to back my way into some stats, and he was like, we already have this in the links, channel, and I was like, oh shit. So I mean, it was an excited and then kind of I'm embarrassed, expletive, and this is phenomenal. I've been staring at it for the last like 2 hours.
oh yeah. Well, before we get going and talking about the upcoming week and the games that we've got going on, just a few things I kind of wanted to chat with you guys and kind of look back at previous seasons and just kind of pick your brain about a few things, especially with this current season. So obviously, if anybody doesn't know the theme with the season, we went with goalies as the captains. But the biggest part about the theme being Throwback 30 was the captains got to choose what theme they want. And then they can either choose a team from that previous theme or create their own team name based off of that theme. And I'm curious, Brian and Bob, I'm going to start with you first, Brian. If you had to be a captain this season, what theme would you have picked and what would your team name be?
Oh, geez. Theme from past themes, not just like a brand new theme. It would have to be a
if you were captain this season. So if you had to think of a theme previously, would you have picked a team name that's already been used, or do you think you'd come up with a team name?
I think I probably would have picked a team name that's already been used. And I think we've gotten more and more creative as we've gone along. So many of the past seasons were like the, Lake Erie Monsters or whatever it was. That was a horrible team. We were not good that year. I don't know. I think without looking at all the names, I'd probably go the music season or the spring break season. The team I was on at that time that I want redemption from was Show Us Your Hits. And that it was such a phenomenal team. I thought the team name was funny, though it didn't really share it with my family all that much. But I'd like a redemption. Maybe that would be the one.
Solid. Good choice. So Bob, if you were captain this year, what would be your theme? And then would you choose an old team name or would you pick a new team? Make your own team name?
I don't know. I think one of my favorite teams that I would love redemption on was the Roberts Wesleyan Red Hawks. And actually, this was spring of 2013. And D'Angelo, even though I've been giving him trouble, I think I've been taking more lumps than I've been delivering. He was on that team. It was Paul Paradigm, Ryan McCabe, and Matt Galoli. And I loved that team. And So I think I would go with that. I think I would go back to the, even though I don't have that, whatever. Yeah, I think I'd go back to that team.
Okay.
That was the trading card season.
Was that the trading card season?
That was the trading card season. So
Why don't you elaborate on what you mean by that?
well, that was it's probably the first season we took true official photos with Kurt. The season prior, they were more like mugshots. And then that season he did a photo shoot with a white backdrop, and then I took all those photos and placed them on team cards so that everybody had their own little hockey card. So that was a fun one.
That's super cool. And I think Kurt mentioned that he's thinking about trying to do that this season, I believe is what he wants to do as far as the photos go. Which photos of, obviously, if you don't know, guys, photos are this week. So if you're available, be ready, come early, be ready for your game, get there early for the pictures. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there. Kurt did say he's thinking, because of the theme of what he's doing with the playing cards, I think he might do a couple different makeup days where he'll still do the photos for individuals who might not be able to make it this week.
I will just quickly point out, Rob, that team I was looking at, I was quickly going through the career, stats, another plug, shout out to that. And we won the President's Cup that year with the worst winning percentage of any President Cup winner ever, 6-2-1. We only played 9 games that season for some reason.
Just dominated.
It was because of the snowstorm. You remember that the giant snowstorm that we had, and we were it ended up being like a state of emergency, and we were still talking about should we we're gonna play it, right? We're still gonna show up on Wednesday, and they were shutting down 490 and stuff. But yeah, domination. President's Cup winners at 6-2-1.
Hell yeah! But you didn't win the whole thing, did you?
We did not. We didn't even make the championship game. Probably because yours truly was in goal, and Brian probably didn't pass.
It was Paul and I. What are you gonna do here?
All right. I just got one more question for you guys that is regarding this current season. And I know it sounds like we may have even already foreshadowed this a little bit, but what is a team that you are least looking forward to playing against? Bob, I'm gonna start with you. I know we're on the same team together, but is there a team right now that you're kind of not looking forward to playing at all against? And why?
Good morning, Vietnam. Good morning, Vietnam. I'm not looking forward to playing Master Vaders again, but we already talked about them. I think Good Morning Vietnam, we talked about them a little bit earlier. They just controlled the entire game against Iron Thrones. And I don't know how much of it is, how good Good Morning Vietnam was, or how much of it was Iron Thrones, still trying to feel everything out, but that team looks super frustrating to play against because they're fast, they pass well, they have good vision, and like we were saying, they have some solid goaltending behind them. That can be very frustrating. I know, there's grinders and people don't like playing against grinders. Whatever. I'm a big guy. I like to throw my weight around. I'm okay playing against grinders. I don't like playing against you fast effers, where you just run and pass and it's all that finesse stuff. That's hard. And so I'm not looking forward to that one.
I definitely vibe with that. Especially after watching that game. Having an opportunity to pretty much catch every game this week. I think that's probably something I would probably fall in line with that. They were a very dominant force. I feel like all the other games kind of were like a teeter-totter seesaw kind of, where it seemed like one team was just kind of pulling ahead, and then it kind of balanced out a little bit, and then the other team just took over. But yeah, it seemed like Good Morning Vietnam just possessed, controlled, and it was just hard for Iron Thrones to just kind of get any kind of momentum. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. With Good Morning Vietnam, I played on Sweet's team the last 2 seasons. I know how he runs the team and just a general flow. So I'm not as concerned about that from how to address it. Though I think they're going to be dominant this season. Master Vaders, to me, that puck just looked like it was going twice as fast than any other game. And I saw every game last week, and that thing I couldn't keep track. I joke that we needed the streaker tracker thing or whatever you call it that for that game. It was just nonstop. So I'm concerned about that. And not only that, but like you just week 2, you don't really know how those 3 play. You can't even go to like historical data of like, oh, you defend, you defend Stephen Foss this way, or, Caliente, you defend that way. It's a little unpredictable at the moment in how you should approach that team. And so that's the scary, it's an unknown still. And the first outing was rough for 7 other teams to watch. So,
yeah, I mean, for me, that game it seemed like it was moving like in fast forward in general. I mean, I don't know if anybody saw it. I completely blew a tire like within the first like 45 seconds of that game. I went to go get right before I scored my goal. I completely rolled my ankle it was in pain, and I tried to kind of push through it and probably should have just sat out. But yeah, the whole time, even when I was out there, I feel like even if I was at 100% health, it just felt like everything was like it's like somebody was watching on YouTube and like pressing the screen to go like 2x, just make it go fast forward. It was moving quick. And for me, like there was a play where I don't know who else was next to me, but we were trying to forecheck Steve Leduc. And I felt like we were just like smashing our sticks going super fast, but Steve was just like finessing and moving in slow motion, and just we couldn't get the puck off of his stick. And I'm like, what is going on? Are we looking at the same puck? Are we playing hockey? It felt like a blur. So they're definitely a challenge. It's kind of interesting. We're talking about Good Morning Vietnam as a team we're not looking forward to. We're talking about Master Vaders, but then go back 10, 15 minutes ago, we were just saying that's probably going to be the championship game. So again, it's only week 1. Few teams this week were shorthanded. So week 2, week 3, I think that's where we're going to start seeing them by week 4 or 5. If these 2 teams are still playing the way they're playing, I'm terrified to play them again.
Concur.
That's what this overreaction podcast is all about. Podcast week 2 preview podcast. It's all about overreactions.
Yeah. So when is the signups for spring 2026?
I think that's going to be next question. Bob, my question for you here, sir, is what season that you recall having one of your biggest shocks or upsets? Could be in the finals, could be mid-season, you lost your star player. I don't know what it might be. What's a season that kind of just had like a huge shock or upset for you?
Well, this one, I remember it being a big shock watching it, but when I was looking back through the stats, it was a 3 seed, that took down a 2 seed. I'm sorry, other way around. It was a 2 seed that took down a 3 seed. So it wasn't like that shocking on paper, but it was super shocking, like watching it in terms of how it folded out or unfolded. So let me share with you a story of spring of 2012. Spring of 2012, when Brian still had hair. It was a simpler time back then. But the Boston College Eagles here, the triple Tim team, Tim Torrey, Tim Scott, and Tim Anderson, went up against the RIT Tigers. And Nick Alcative was going for his 3-peat. He was going for the first 3-peat ever in season 5. And they went to overtime. And so my favorite moments from this game, if I can get this to work, are Dan Gladding pushing Dave LaForce into the wall, which then went over the bench into the other side.
Still my favorite moment in the league.
Oh, it's absolutely my let's watch that again, folks. You got him pushed into the wall. He loses his stick. Everyone's watching. You got Chad and John and Paul just watching. Nick is just putting his hand up like, hey, cool down. And then he just goes butt up, and Chatterton just kind of walks and like, hey, what's going on here? And then just play continues.
We made that into a sticker in the Discord or an emoji, and it's just called my puck because that's what Dan said. Dan, why'd you do it? He goes, it was my puck. He had my puck.
Puck. And now we're frozen on an image that gives Foss nightmares, and I Dave Foss nightmares, the original Foss. But this was an overtime, an unlikely end. Dave LaForce was in the perfect spot. Puck went off the back wall, bounced right out behind Foss. Foss was out out of his net, challenging it, and LaForce just taps it in for the game winner. And so it was kind of, to go back to your question, unexpected, because, no offense to Mr. LaForce, but nobody expected that Dave was going to score the game winner in overtime. Like, we were taking bets up on the stage, or up on the track around the court on, who was going to score the game winner, when it went to overtime, and his name didn't even come up in conversation. But that's how it ended.
I gotta say, Bob, thanks for sharing that. This is perfect especially for the theme of this season. You really got the good throwback there. That was an awesome share. Great story. Did Kurt have hair in that picture? Is that what I noticed?
Let's take a look here.
Like a little baby when they first come out, and now he's just kind of reverting back to the bald now.
Oh, that's still Dave getting pushed. I went too far. I'm getting click happy.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
There he is.
well, look at that fuzz. Holy smokes.
This is the throwback season. I'm using Windows Media Player because I can't use images to work any other way on my computer right now. So
Goodness.
yeah. So you can make fun of me for that too. But that's why I've had technical difficulties.
Yeah, I'm getting old. That's why. Oh, well, I mean, I can't compete with that. He just like sucking up to the teacher here, bringing visual aids and all that. Like, that sucks.
Man,
So,
I originally told you guys, I was like, hey, I'm not going to give you guys like the questions prior. I want to maybe put you on the spot. And then I was like, maybe this one I want to give you a little bit of like, so you can think about all the seasons you've played in. And this guy goes, all right, I got to figure it out and put a whole slideshow together. I got this.
That was like 4 hours ago. So it's like crazy.
He shut the bar down, just came home, set everything up.
Exactly.
Well, Brian, what about you? What jumps out to you? If you had to think about it, shocking moments.
I think that this is the two that came to mind for me, and they're not. Honestly, Bob takes the cake. That as much crap as I give him, that is by far the best moment and probably the biggest surprise that till this day still in this league. For me, I hinted towards it earlier, and maybe my answer earlier was because I already had this example in mind. But the Show Us Your Hits team, we lost the first game of the season and then went on a 9-0 run, and just were dominant. That was my first time playing with John Foes. That was the year of controversy because we took Conco out of net and put Kazmark in, and then brought Conco out on the floor. And then the rule was made that you can't do that anymore because it was such a good strategy. And the sad thing is we never even made it to the finals. I think we lost opening round of the playoffs. It was like opening round or round 2 of the playoffs. But that team was just on such a dominant run throughout that season that I thought, this is in the bag. We got it. And it just goes to show that anything can happen in the playoffs. Any team can get hot at the right time. It fell flat. So when I want redemption, I want that one. So not a huge shocker from a league standpoint, but personally for me, that was, I thought like, okay, I'm going to get my third cup. This is the team. I got John Foes. We're going to do it.
And how many seasons had John been playing at that point? Do you know?
Ooh, well, John's been playing. Look at the stats now, or the career. John Foes has 8 seasons on here, so this would be his 9th season. So he probably had like 3 or 4.
Okay.
At the time.
Gotcha.
Guessing.
Did you guys have K-Flow that season too? Didn't K-Flow play net too? You guys
yeah.
I could swear you had like 3 different goalies throughout that season. It was nuts.
Yeah, it was. We just kept swapping people in. So, I mean, I didn't play net. I wasn't going to do that. Jeez. But yeah, we swapped
a lot. Of course not. Why would you do that?
Why would I? So, no, we had Baldwin. We had K-Flow. It was a pretty solid team.
Yeah, I do remember that rotation. It was kind of, you never knew who was going to play in net that week. Well, that's what rules are for, I guess, right? If they're not written, break them.
Yeah, it was the tush push of the league at that time. That's what it was.
Well, I don't think anything like that has ever been done, probably, right? Rotating goalies.
I don't know, Bob. Was that ever really done much outside of like subbing?
We did it a few seasons before that. Once or twice. I'm trying to remember now. Let me think about that as we keep talking. I'll come back to it if I remember. But we did do it before, but it wasn't as big as having Khan go out on the floor. Like it was kind of like oh, you had a mediocre goalie subbing for a mediocre goalie to get a mediocre floor player. It wasn't like, oh wow, now you've got like a first late first round talent all of a sudden on the floor.
And honestly, it was kind of like it was the debut of Kaz, wasn't it, that season?
Yeah, I don't think Kaz had played goalie before that, had he?
I don't think officially. No.
All right. Well, I'll let you think about that for a minute. We're gonna get ready to kind of just let's talk about the upcoming week, and then we'll wrap this up. We got 4 awesome games coming up this Wednesday. I would have a slideshow to kind of go through with all this cool stuff with you guys, but 2.0 was a little late to get in the slides to me, and then looked like we had a little bit of issues with the slides. To kind of brush over it real quick, 2.0 was run over by a van this past week. And so the slides just were a little late. And just so you guys know, that's how he started his message with me when he told me that the slides were late. So my immediate first reaction was, let's just reverse for a sec. What? You got hit by a car? He told me it's okay to share the story. So
did the van reverse? He said, let's just reverse for a second. Did the van say, hold on, I need to finish the job?
No. Yeah. 2 questions. First, is he okay?
Yeah, number one, for anybody who's worried about it, 2.0 is okay.
Okay. Second question: as someone that is playing him this week, was it a lower body injury? Was it an upper body injury? Can you give me any intel here?
So from what he told me about it, basically he saw it coming, and just basically took the brunt of it. Lower body at most. Sounds like he kind of turned his body to like face the van and kind of just jumped onto the hood of the car. So I don't even know if it was an actual van or not. The only reason I'm going with van is because he told me this whole story, and I almost didn't believe he actually got hit by a car, because he goes on to tell me that the officer told him that the driver was going to be charged, obviously, because it was in a school zone and they ran a stop sign. But then 2.0 was also going to be charged with a violation. And the violation was going to be for involuntary manslaughter, first degree. Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of any dad joke. That was bad.
That was bad. I was gonna make some jokes about like the whole thing, but now I'm like, you just took all the wind out of my sails, and I can't.
Yeah. So he definitely wanted to make sure he wanted to round back and tell me he did actually get hit by a car. He didn't just tell me this whole spiel just to lead up to a subpar dad joke. But so everyone send your positive vibes to 2.0 and wish for a speedy recovery, which sounds like he's fine. He was out on a jog and he finished the jog on the way home. So
a jog or a yog?
I think it's a soft J.
Okay.
Soft J. Yeah.
This is exactly why I brought you guys on the show. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. So yeah, let's just jump into this preview. Thank you to 2.0 who made really good slides. I do want to make a shout out to 2. He did a really good job with taking the stats provided and the information provided and put together these cool slides that you guys will see on future podcasts. So huge shout out to 2.0 and your speedy van recovery. But starting this week, we've got the 6:30 game. The away team is the Phoenix Coyotes, looking to get in the win column against the Master Vaders. Brian, do you have any comments about this game? Anything you want to talk about?
I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, again, we were talking in Firestorm chat this week. I'm looking at it. We're talking about 2.0's team saying, well, wow, you guys, really look good. And he's chatting it up. And I look at the schedule and I go, fudge. I go, first game next week. So not looking forward to it. I mean, I'm sad to hear he got hit by a van this week. If it gives us any help, I'm going to take it right now. So, so yes, I will send condolences to him, hopefully in the form of an orange puck. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, since it's your own team, I'm not really going to put you on the spot for a call out. But Bob, do you have any comments on this game? And if anything, you want to just at least give me your prediction for this game?
Yeah, I'll say all my predictions are always, with the big asterisk that I'm assuming everyone's showing up. So, anything can always go haywire if people don't show up. But assuming full rosters from both teams, I don't think this is a good matchup for the Coyotes. I think the Coyotes, play a little bit more dump and chase. They're playing a little bit more, taking the shot first and going for rebounds. And the Masturbators are I don't want to call it run and gun because I think that minimizes like they possess the puck, they pass, but they move fast and they go from back check to forecheck to back check really quick. And I'm not sure that the Coyotes are set up to handle that. So I think the Masturbators win. I think they win. I'll go 10-6.
If I had it written down 8-13. I think it's gonna be tough. We had a really tough time, getting back on D this past week, and I think we've had conversations about it. We got to make some adjustments, but this is a tough one right after that to try to get that chemistry going. I haven't played with any of Dan. Dan is the only one I've played with. Oh, I played with Paul way back on the Redhawks team, but. This team's going to take a little bit to get some chemistry. I think it can happen. But it's not starting out of the gate. I think that's a fair assessment.
Fair all around, and I mean, I think 2.0's team's just coming out with just, especially after a great game last week, good intimidation factors from the rookies, and we'll see if anybody can find a way to shut their game flow down. And I mean, it's a good goalie matchup with 2.0 and Mark, so going to be an exciting 6:30 game. Moving on to the 7:30 game, we've got a Tribe Called Quest versus Bob and I's Limp Biscuits. Bob, why are you feeling about this game?
Give me something to break. No, I think I don't want to give any bulletin board material, so I'll keep my comments brief. But I think the Limp Biscuits win, and I think it's relatively low scoring. I'd put it at 9-6.
All right, Brian, how you feeling? Got any words for this game?
I mean, there's nothing that was shown this past week that should make me not pick a Tribe Called Quest. I think they looked awesome. I think they're going to, if they have a full team, they have 2 additional hockey guys that are lending assistance there and helping with the energy. I think at the end of that game this week, they started slowing down a bit. But if they have a full squad, they're good. I had them winning 11-8. I think Limp Biscuits has a solid squad there. Rob, I don't know how your ankle is, how you're going to hold up, but it's based off of week 1. I can't pick against them right now until I start seeing some weaknesses in the armor.
No, I mean, it's all factual stuff. I actually will be out of town this week, so they're definitely going to be short me this week for the Limp Biscuits. But yeah, I mean, Tribe Called Quest, as you said, they just catching them last week. They're definitely a dominant team. It's going to be really interesting to see how people can make Brett move and kind of get him out of position to kind of open him up to allowing more goals and break him down. But once that can happen, hopefully teams can figure out a way to get around that team. But that team itself is just very well-rounded powerhouse right now. Moving to 8:30, we got home team Manitoba Moose hosting the Iron Thrones. Brian, what do you think about this game?
I think this is in favor of Manitoba. They were so much in sync in week 1. They didn't have their full squad. It'll be interesting to see the chemistry of Shane and Dave in there. And honestly, Dave Host has been impressing me the past few seasons. He's been getting a lot more floor presence. And we've had some good chats in the hallway about it. Yeah, Manitoba looked really solid this past week. Lots of question marks with the Iron Thrones. I think Frankie looked good out there, a little bit manic, but you could see that it was starting to click in his brain as the game started going forward. And I think that he's going to start finding the back of the net. And Jake was held off of the score sheet. That rarely happens. So if Jake and Frankie can start getting that connection, and then you got the support of Bill Smith, exclamation mark, and the rest of that team. Again, Glenn down there in the 6th round is just such a good player. I think Iron Thrones can figure this out, but I think it's, again, similar to my team. It's going to take a few weeks for them to find their rhythm and to find the chemistry.
Bob, what do you think?
I don't disagree. I think Manitoba Moose wins this. I think it's lopsided. The Iron Thrones, they only scored 3 goals last week. I know it's week 1. I know it's week 1 overreactions that's been this whole podge, but like you can't score 3 goals and expect to even be close in these games, unless you are Letron Lamont or something. But no, I don't know how much of that was Good Morning Vietnam and how much of that was Iron Thrones, trying to figure themselves out still. But, like we said, Manitoba Moose looked good. And like Brian said, with the return of 2 more floor players and Steve and Nat, Kaz and Nat, they're going from Brandon and Nat, who had a great game of 93%, to Kazmark and Nat, who I would argue is a stronger goalie, and most seasons at least. That's going to only get tougher for them. So I think it's 4-11.
Yeah, I mean, this game could be a big challenge for Alex, just because one thing that I noticed last week that I don't know why I didn't even think about it or expect it, and I mean, we mentioned it when we were calling that game, Bob, is Petrie and Brad were just like, Petrie and Brad were almost like Bob and Brad. It's deadly enough when father and son are playing on the same page and on the same team, but the way Petrie and Brad just kind of like mirrored each other, it's kind of a scary combo. And it's something that I don't know why I didn't even think about it or expect it after the draft, but it's something super interesting going into this.
Totally. Petrie and Brad together, Brad and Bob together. I'd love to see Bob and Petrie together in terms of like that chemistry, because like they were no look passing to each other. Not Bob and Petrie, but father son were. Like I swear that Bob hit Brad right on the doorstep without even looking at him, without even knowing, like seeing visually he was there. He just knew he was there.
Yeah, that's the danger of those two together. And last but not least, we have the RFHL After Dark game, Sarnia Sting versus Good Morning Vietnam. We've kind of talked about the domination of Good Morning Vietnam. I think this might be a first full game for Conco. For anybody who didn't know, Conco did not play the full game last week. Kenton played the first 2 periods, and then Conco kind of slid in the third, just trying to ease himself back into the season. Bob, do you think if Conco plays a full game, it's going to change things? What do you think this is going to be like?
I don't know. I looked at I watched the game afterwards and looked at the goals Kenton let in and then the goals Conco let in. And if you take out the 6-0 start that Sarnia was up against, I think it was Sarnia that had like a 6-0 deficit.
Yeah.
They still, like, it's a whole different game. Obviously, you raise 6 goals, it's a whole different game. That's why they pay me the big bucks. I should just say it louder and angrier, and then maybe I'll go on ESPN. But in all seriousness, I don't know, because I don't think Kenton really played that poorly, other than the first period. And I like this matchup for Sarnia Sting. I think Good Morning Vietnam is great. I think they're, like I said, I think they'll end up in the championship if we're just basing it on 1 week of hockey. But I like how Dan and Paul and Cody match up against that kind of possession style and that speed style. And I like John's defense and Kenton's defense, and you got Jeremy there too. And I don't think Good Morning Vietnam runs away with this one. I think this is the game of the week. I think this is a close one. I think it's, I'm gonna call the upset, if there's such a thing, in week 2, and say Sarnia Sting takes it 8-7.
That's a really interesting call. I mean, it's going to be Brian. What do you think on this?
Bob almost took everything I was going to say. I was almost going to say all those exact same things. The one period I did not see this week was Conco's period, because I was getting ready for my game. But again, I think Sarnia matches up well against Sweet. I think the team that knocked us out last year was Les Tremblements and Dan's led team, and we just couldn't find a rhythm there. And to me, Good Morning Vietnam is the firestorm of this season, just how they're built. So I think there's a solid matchup there. I also, this isn't a knock against Brandon, but I just don't think Brandon's going to, if I had to bet, I wouldn't think he was going to have the same week 1 performance in week 2. So if he can consistently show that he can put up, those first 2 period numbers, yeah, great. Then Good Morning Vietnam scares me even more. But I have a question mark there. And I just think overall it's a good matchup between these two teams. I think it's going to be higher scoring because I think Brandon's going to let some in, and I think Congo's going to let some in. So I have the upset Sarnia winning 12-11.
All right. I mean, honestly, those are really cool calls. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see this game, but I would love to watch this game because, again, Conco didn't play a full game last week, so it's going to be interesting to see these two teams, how they're going to clash, and I didn't even think about kind of like that breakdown in Dan's team versus how Firestorm got shut down last year. Because I mean, Born in Vietnam is you're just like, you nailed it on the head with that. The play style, it's fast, it's gritty, so it's going to be a great matchup. I'm excited to see how that one will play out. And I mean, the biggest takeaway from this week, I was just looking at the teams playing against each other, is it's all 1-0 teams playing as 0-1 teams. So everyone's hungry. No one wants to get their first loss, and you got 4 teams that want to get their first win. So I think the matchups line up pretty awesome for this week. What teams are going to stay undefeated? What teams are going to get on the win column? Everyone going to get their first loss, first win? Who knows? So I mean, if you're watching the pod, comment below. Are we going to have who's going to stay undefeated? Who is going to land in the win column? And it's going to be an interesting week because it's all going to shake up here, and it's going to get crazier as the season goes on. Who's going to stay undefeated? So, you guys got anything else you want to talk about? Anything else for the upcoming week, previous weeks, or this season?
I mean, my closing thought is this closing thoughts? Are we to closing thoughts now?
Closing thoughts, sir.
All right, we're to closing thoughts. Okay. The whole entire regular season is the preseason. That's what it comes down to. I mean, so if you go 0-2 this week, you know what? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So 8 seed won it last year. I mean, anybody can make it happen.
It's a good call, Bob. You got any last statements, closing thoughts?
No, I did my best not to piss anyone off too much. I hope I didn't do too much bulletin board material this time around, but I'm sure you'll find a nugget there somewhere. So I'll just trying to fan the flame.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate you guys doing this late night recording with me, being a part of the podcast, and you guys did exactly what I expected. When I thought about who I wanted, I figured it. Brian and Bob, 2 guys that I feel like go way back and can definitely bring the energy that I would want for the pod. So appreciate you guys being here tonight.
Been playing floor hockey together since 2003 with Da Bears. It's
been a while. Too long. Way too long. So, and thanks, Rob. I always appreciate you doing the pod. I always love your broadcasts. You keep talking about Bob and my energy, but to me, you're the one with the energy here. So,
well, I appreciate you, boys. That's great. Great feeling, great vibes. But we're gonna close this out with the traditional, the one and only. Is it Wednesday yet?